I want today to talk about pregnancy loss. I kept saying in my vlog, I was like, okay, next recording is going to be like talking about an issue or talking about a thing, rather than just a typical vlog. So, I realized in doing that, like, I just really love to vlog, you guys. Like, not that my life is super fascinating or interesting, but it's just something I enjoy to do. So I definitely prefer to vlog. But I mean, this is kind of a vlog. Yeah, this is a vlog too, it's just like not about my day. It's about a subject. I can only talk obviously from like my vantage point, the way that I have experienced pregnancy loss. So this is definitely not a one size fits all. I'm basically just going to talk through my story and, like my feelings, thoughts around it, kind of a deal. So hopefully if people have experienced something similar, like they can maybe find some validation and support in this. That's exactly my hope. And this is my first stab ever trying to talk about it in like kind of a more like public, more-ish formal manner, I guess. So something to note is the difference between pregnancy losses. There just are a lot of different ways in which you might lose a pregnancy. Okay, so there's miscarriage, there's stillbirth. So miscarriage, obviously, people are very familiar with miscarriage. That is very common. I don't remember the statistics, but I mean, many women experience miscarriage in, one way or another. Miscarriage is anything from conception up into when the baby would be viable outside of the womb. So that means typically it's 24 weeks that a fetus, I think they're fetuses at that point. I don't know. I don't know the medical term, okay? But a baby could live outside of a womb, in a hospital or whatever, is 24 weeks. So anything prior to 24 weeks is just deemed a miscarriage. So there's different kind of statuses or breakdowns, like subsections of miscarriage. So there's early term and there's late term, and there might be more than that. So I feel like, yes, I've had an experience with pregnancy loss, but my experience was less common than what maybe a lot of women experience when they have pregnancy loss. So I had a late term miscarriage, okay? My baby was not far enough along to live outside of the womb. So it was still considered a miscarriage. However, I was 20 weeks along when it was, formally determined that I had lost my baby. So that's halfway through the pregnancy, you guys. That's typically when they do, sorry, my dog is being loud in the background. That's typically when they do your ultrasound scan. So for most healthy pregnant women, you have like an early scan, which typically they have to do that fun little thing that goes up inside to determine how far along you are. So that kind of dates your pregnancy. And then usually if everything's going well, you don't have another scan until your 20-week anatomy scan. The backstory on my pregnancy is this. So this was my first ever pregnancy. So I have 2 children. This was my first. So I've been pregnant 3 times. I was young, 21 at the time. I was 21 at the time. The father of that, pregnancy is the same as my other 2 children. Okay. So like all of my pregnancies, same dad. He and I, if you've seen any of my other stuff, obviously I'm a single mom. We had an incredibly toxic relationship. I was living in Washington State at the time. I had moved there to be closer to where his family was because that's kind of where he wanted to be and I wanted something new. So I lived in Spokane with him for 6 months. and we had just a short-term lease of 6 months. Things were so bad that at the end, like when that lease was coming up, I decided like, this is horrible. I'm breaking up with you. Well, he basically broke up with me. I don't really know. I don't remember. It was horrible though. So it's hard to like put a finger on what exactly happened. And like he moved out. I was just by myself there, and I decided I was going to move back home to Wyoming, which is where I am right now. So I was sitting alone. I remember this vividly. You know, I didn't have really close friends or anything in Washington State. You know, it was just me. I worked at the time. I had a horse at the time. I went to the gym. Like I did things, but I didn't have like people, you know? So I was sitting alone. I don't remember like what day of the week it was or anything like that, but it was St. Patrick's Day of 2015. And I was eating grapes. I was eating this bag of grapes, and I just started feeling like off. And I was like, why am I feeling sick? You know, I always eat grapes. Like, what's going on? And backstory on that, I was on birth control for a long time. I did like the Depo shot. So that's the hormone shot. And it jacked me up, okay? Like I had a situation where I lost my period completely, which happens to a lot of women. And honestly, it's great during the time, but there was just other stuff that it did to my body that I wasn't comfortable with. So I went off of it. And when I went off of it, I started bleeding every day for like a month. So at that point I was like, I'm not, or it expired and I started bleeding every day and I'm like, I'm not getting it again. So I was effectively off birth control because I hate birth control. Fucks with your body, man. And during that time, I was not taking very good care of myself. I've struggled with ED, like a, eating disorder type of situation. Most of my life I've had struggles with that. And so I probably wasn't taking very good care of myself. No, I know I wasn't taking very good care of myself. I actually remember the timeline of this very well now. So it was due to my ex. My ex and I broke up. We were living in Wyoming at the time. We broke up. He left in a very horrible, horrible way. I was a complete mess. I was in college at the time. I was a complete mess. I didn't really, when I get stressed, I tend not to eat. So like I wasn't eating, I wasn't taking care of myself. So then I ended up losing my period. You know, if anyone has experienced this before, a lot of times if you lose a lot of weight, or like you're super active, which I was being super active and not eating very well, whatever, you can lose your menstrual cycle. So that happened to me. And I thought like the fact that I lost my menstrual cycle, I couldn't get pregnant. So my ex and I got back together and I moved with him to Washington State, and I still didn't have my period at that time. Like I guess, yeah. And I just, you know, whatever. And I mean, we were like kind of careful, but kind of not, because I also was kind of, I don't know. I always knew I wanted kids, and I think I was so like lonely and broken by the relationship that I was like wanting something else, and I wasn't able to, like, it's just, that's extra drama, not necessary to the story. But long story short, we broke up. Fast forward that night on, you know, eating the grapes, and I had not had my period, and it had been like irregular towards the end of when I was getting it back, and it was just all over. So I was like, you know what? This is weird that I'm feeling sick eating grapes. I'm going to go ahead and take a pregnancy test. Okay. I was like, you know, at the house alone, preparing to move back to Wyoming, you know, soon, like broken up, whatever. Take the pregnancy test at like 9:00 on St. Patrick's Day, and it's positive. And I was in denial. I was in complete shock. I was like, there's no, like, we broke up. Oh my God, like I'm pregnant. I'm moving back to Wyoming. Like he's being whatever, you know. So pregnant, moved back to Wyoming. He proceeded to not be in the picture and treat me like trash for a long time. during that pregnancy, probably wasn't taking very good care of myself because I was incredibly stressed. I was young. I had an unplanned pregnancy and had lost a relationship and was just like in turmoil and didn't know what I was doing with my life, and opted to not go to grad school, which I had been accepted into in Washington State, because I found out I was pregnant. I sold my horse because I was pregnant. I was like, I'm going to be a mom. I did all these things. I made all these changes. I was living with my mom so I could afford it. I was doing all these things. And I've always been pretty in touch with things. So like I've had dreams multiple times in my life about cues I must have been picking up on. And I'd have a dream that would like tell me something, and then it became reality, or it was reality. So I dreamt, and I've done this with every single one of my kids. I dreamt it was a girl, that I was pregnant with a girl. And I was pregnant in March, moved back to Wyoming. Fast forward to May, my ex, popped back in and was apologetic, whatever, So I started kind of talking to him again. July rolls around. I remember I had my 20-week scan like in July. Yeah, in July, early July. And right before my 20-week scan, I had this very strange dream. I dreamt that I was, and I couldn't get the full context of it, okay? But like I was somewhere in bed, like a hospital bed, but I didn't put two and two together at that point. And everything was kind of dark and the feeling was really gloomy. And my dad was there. My dad lives 5 hours away from here. There would be no reason my dad, would be there. And he was really sad, and just the mood was really sad, and something really bad had happened. You know what I mean? So literally like 2 days later, I just had this feeling something was wrong, something was bad. And so I asked my friend, like, will you please go with me to this ultrasound? Because I just have this bad feeling. And I need support. I need someone there. And this was also my first pregnancy. I felt flutters of the baby, but I never really felt movement. And I did a lot of reading about that, and it's not uncommon to not feel, a lot of movement at that point. Like typically you start feeling a lot more like second half of the pregnancy, you know what I mean? So they always ask you like, was there a decrease in movement to know if something's off with your baby? But like if you haven't felt any, you can't, say that. So anyway, we went into my scan, and the ultrasound tech always does the scans. And again, this was my first pregnancy, so I didn't know what the baby was gonna like look like on the monitor. I had no idea what to expect. So and my friend she hadn't been pregnant before at that point either. So we're sitting in there, and she's gooping me up, and she's kind of moving the thing around, and she makes a comment. She says, "Oh, your baby's sitting really low." And I remember, the baby like kind of looking kind of curled up at the bottom, and like no movement at all, was not moving. And I didn't know like if that was normal or not. This was my first ever ultrasound, of like a larger grown baby in there. So the baby wasn't moving at all. And, the thing that's said when something is wrong is the ultrasound tech said, I'm having some trouble getting your baby to move. And I was like, okay, and then she's like, I'm going to go get the doctor, and, I'll be back. And that was all she said. And I told my friend, I'm like, something's wrong. Like something is wrong. You just like, when they tell you that I'm going to go get the doctor, like, something is wrong. And my friend of course is like, no, like you're fine. I don't know what she really thought at the time, but she's a good comforter and supporter. So doctor comes back in. He, makes this comment of like, okay, let's see what we can do. And, obviously, baby didn't move. And he said, I can't find a heartbeat. And obviously that was when shock set in, you know, and I was crying and I was like really upset. And I'm also going to preface this by saying how you are spoken to by your doctor matters. How you are treated, the words used to communicate to someone matters, especially in a period of trauma, okay? My doctor did not have those skills, okay? This is what my doctor said to me. He said, "Are you sure you haven't had an accident that you didn't tell us about? Because we never see losses this late." That's what my doctor said to me, okay? I am an anxious person. I'm on high alert all the time. You know, like obviously I knew something was like off with my baby. I would have called, I would have come in if there was an accident. I would have mentioned that, okay? Whatever. So him saying that to me, we never see losses this late. And I was like, I was in shock. Obviously, like I was not planning to have that baby. I was not planning to get pregnant. It disrupts my life in a lot of ways. But that was my baby. I had changed my life to be a mom, and that was my baby. And even if it wasn't like plans, and I was a single mom, that was another thing. I knew I got judgment because of that. I was a young single mom, you know. All of that being said, like that was my baby, you know. Don't essentially accuse me of doing something that killed my baby. Okay? So then they're like, "Okay, well, you know, we have to go out. We'll be back." I'm of course like, who do I call? You know, like I called my ex because we were sort of talking, and I just told him like, you know, she's gone, and I was hysterical and whatever. My ex also responded really badly because he was like, "See, this is what happened when you don't talk to me a day or blah blah blah." So he also like blamed me kind of, you know, in the moment. So I at that point like basically told my friend like, you know, you can go. Like I didn't want her to sit with me for forever. I called my mom. My mom immediately came over. But I was sitting in that room where they, you know, left me. And I was just like waiting there for a long time. And then when they came back, they're like, "Okay, we need to move you over here." And I'm just like, oh freaking K. Like I've just lost my baby. Like, can you be a little more sensitive to that? So they moved me over here, and I waited in that room another freaking half an hour. And my mom got there, and she, you know, we were waiting together, and no one was coming to talk to us. And I was like, there's several ways to lose like a pregnancy. I had no indication, no bleeding, no cramping, nothing. I had no indication other than that dream and just that feeling that something was wrong. So again, I didn't bleed, nothing like that. But immediately when I found out that I was housing my baby that was, I mean, I'll be really blunt, dead, that's a level of trauma that I can't explain. To know that you have a baby inside of you that's dead. It's traumatic on a whole, you know, it's just different. But if you've been there, maybe you understand what I'm saying. Finally, a doctor comes back, and I knew enough to know that I was going to have to participate in that, aka deliver this baby. That's a whole nother thing when you know that you have to deliver a dead baby. Yeah. We were trying to pull information out of this guy. It was like pulling teeth. My mom's like, "Okay, well, where, when, how, what does she need to do?" And he was like, "Whoa, blah, 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 blah." It's like, it was so strange. It's like he didn't know even what he was talking about. Didn't know what the hell he was saying. He kept saying things like, "We never do this. This is a very unique experience, blah, 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 blah." He didn't even say to us, "You're going to have to deliver the baby." I said to my mom, I'm going to have to deliver this baby while he was in the room. And so my mom's like, what does she need to do? You know what I mean? And it was like pulling teeth. It was so hard to get a like, you go do this here at this time type of thing. I wish I had not done this after what my ex put me through, like in the future tense with my children now. But he was in Washington and I was like, I want to wait until he can be here to deliver this baby, because that's like a meaningful thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like she's just medical waste to me. You know, she was my baby. Anyway, my ex was terrible. He was like, well, I can't get there. Blah, 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 blah. I don't have money to get there. And I waited to deliver her until he could make it, which was like 5 days later. Okay. Do not recommend doing that. I was told it's unsafe. The fetus is basically toxic waste in your body at this point, could really cause an infection. You could get very ill. You need to do this immediately. We finally got, information that essentially what was going to happen is I was going to be induced at the hospital and I would deliver this baby at the hospital. And my dad drove up, my brother was there, my mom. Look, here's one of the sucky things for anyone who's been induced. Being induced is awful. I've been induced with all of my pregnancies. My first one, I had to get induced, which forced my body to do the same thing it would do if it was a full-term pregnancy. So I was in labor. I experienced labor pain. I didn't want to feel anything. This was my first baby and I was delivering it dead and it was horrifying. And I was like, I don't want this to be my real first delivery. I want to be knocked out. I don't want to feel a thing. I want to have this happen and whatever. They gave me an epidural, but I still felt a lot. I was in a lot of pain, didn't sleep, whatever. Finally, it came time. I delivered this baby. I had spoken to a counselor, my counselor at the time prior, about this issue that I hadn't even thought about. Are you going to see your baby? Are you going to hold your baby? Do you want pictures of your baby? Do you want to take pictures with your baby? What do you want to do with your baby? So my counselor suggested that I create, like a memorial kind of deal. So I made a box and I will show you guys, this in a little bit, because my counselor, and I'm so grateful for her, encouraging me to do this. I held my baby. It was a girl. I held her. I named her Adira Hope. Adira means strength in Hebrew. I also just feel like it's a beautiful name. So, yep, her name is Adira Hope. And I have a box, dedicated to her. I took pictures with her. She was, very early, but her body was perfect, it looked like a perfect little human body, no major abnormalities. They did an autopsy, nothing came back irregular. So I believed to this day that what happened was I was in so much distress over the loss of my relationship with my ex and being in turmoil over that and moving back, that my body just could not support this baby. It couldn't support me, I couldn't support myself, let alone this baby physically. So I think that stress is what caused her to just not be able to grow in that environment. I opted to not keep and bury her. I luckily had nursing staff that had lost babies late, and they understood, and they were so incredible because the doctors were, I'm just gonna say it, assholes. Very like, didn't want to have to deal with it kind of a situation, and seemed kind of upset at me that I had like ruined their positive like birth rates or whatever. So thank goodness for my nurses. This person who's very important to me, one of my friends, she's much older than me. She was in college when I was in like junior high, and we rodeoed. She taught me to rodeo. I told her, and she had lost a baby. Actually, it was twins. She had lost twins before, early miscarriage, but she knew about all these resources, and she knew about all this stuff, and she sent me a care package, and she was amazing. She told me about Molly bears, and I'm going to show you guys my bear. Molly Bears is this amazing organization. If any of you have lost a pregnancy, you send in the weight of your baby and like things that remind you of your baby, and they create a little teddy bear to size, like to weight. Right after I lost her, obviously I was grieving really hard. I went through a really, really bad period of time in my life after that. I felt very lost. Yeah. One of the things that I did was I wrote letters to her about, how much I loved her, what I envisioned our life would be, and I kept them in her box. So I still have those today. I haven't read them. But I still have those things. I don't believe in like reincarnation or anything like that. I just believe this was kind of a like universe coincidence that I picked up on that meant something to me. So right after I lost her, I remember I went to my mom's house, came home to my mom's house, and I was sitting outside, and I saw so many ladybugs that day. I saw ladybugs everywhere that day. And so when I think of a deer, I think of ladybugs, and that's kind of been my tribute, my, thing for her. I think it's this side. Which side is it on? Oh yeah. So I got, I have this little ladybug. I'm going to flip around and try to show you guys this memorial tattoo that I got. Yeah. Okay. So you can see. So, that was the memorial tattoo I designed for her. It says, a dear of hope. It has the day that she was, her angel date. So the day that she was quote unquote born, July 12th of 2015. That was sort of the entire story of my pregnancy loss. My situation is unique, and something that a lot of women who have experienced a miscarriage can't necessarily relate to is a late term loss when you have to deliver your baby. It's a whole nother level. It was the whole shebang, I'm with Adira, even though I didn't get to hear her cry or carry her home, take her home, or have her grow. I remember, right after I had her, feeling so jealous of people who had babies, obviously, and I tried to take such good care of myself when I was pregnant, even though I was stressed and whatever, but I ate really clean. I didn't get my nails done because I didn't want the fumes, I didn't eat any of the foods you're not supposed to eat. I exercised because I wanted to stay healthy for the baby. Obviously I changed, my whole life. So once I lost her, would look at people, especially I'd see a pregnant woman smoking a cigarette, and it would enrage me because I'm like, why did I lose my baby when you are smoking a cigarette pregnant and you have yours? So I went through that period of time. I also felt like, even though she was unplanned, it was like, okay, that happened. My mind was on kids. Like my mind was on being a mom after I had prepared to be a mom but didn't get the chance. Something was just missing, you know? And I just knew like I'm meant to be a mom. And I have been induced with both of my pregnancies following Adira and watched very closely. And I get multiple ultrasounds and checked very frequently because my first loss was unexplainable. They were not able to settle on anything that caused that loss. Like I said, Adira's body was perfect. So I just blame it on the stress. Anyway, so that's my pregnancy loss story. I had just been wanting to share this because like I've said, you know, in multiple other videos, one of the reasons I have been drawn to YouTube and one of the reasons I wanted to do YouTube was to share experiences that other people can relate to or other people can, you know, feel supported in. And this is one of them. You know, there's not a whole heck of a lot out there if you have lost a baby. If you've had a late-term pregnancy loss, there's not a whole heck of a lot out there to help you. And it does happen. And it's not your fault. And I want to be a resource if anyone is watching this that has lost a baby, you know, reach out to me. I am happy to talk to you about whatever. I like talking about my daughter. That is another thing. Pregnancy losses, it makes other people uncomfortable, right? So when people would find out, they just like wouldn't know what to say. And I had people tell me I never want to bring it up because I didn't want to bring up bad feelings for you. And it's like, I'm already living with the feelings and I'm a very open person to begin with. So I like to talk about her. And especially now being years later, I'm very comfortable talking about it. There's no aspect of it that causes me that immense grief pit anymore. It still makes me sad. You know, I was kind of getting emotional a little bit during telling this, but I'm here. So I want to be here for anyone that I can be here for. And I just appreciate anyone that took the time to watch this because I got to tell my story too, you know, and that is healing as well. I feel like if you can tell your story in kind of like a manner that you are comfortable in, it's just going to help in your healing process too. So, thank you guys for watching. And, the next one will probably be a vlog, back to vlogging. This was just kind of a unique and, very specialized, obviously, but, yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe would be amazing. I will do more of this type of thing. But mostly I'm here for vlogs. So anyway, I will catch you guys later and I hope you have a fantastic, sunny, happy rest of your day.